Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we are going to be doing a first-round 2021 NFL mock draft with trades after the NFL trade that occurred yesterday between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. This is not the video that you guys were supposed to be seeing today, but because of the trade and how it changes the first round, I figured I would go out and make a new mock draft because now the Ravens have 2 picks in the first round. The full trade details between the trade with the Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens are the Chiefs are getting offensive tackle Orlando Brown, who was a Pro Bowler, the number 58 pick, and a future 6th round pick in exchange for picks number 31, 94, 136, and a future 5th round pick. Per Adam Schefter, Brown will be the left tackle for Patrick Mahomes as he gets what he wanted, which is very good for Patrick Mahomes, as that guy got folded like one of those tables that the Buffalo Bills fans jump through. So, who wins this trade? If I'm being honest with you, it's pretty even. It's hard to say who wins a trade when picks get moved because you don't really know how good the pick is going to be that the Ravens make later in the draft because now they have 2 first-round picks. Was this all worth it? Who knows right now? I would say this trade is pretty even, though, on paper. It doesn't seem like either team really swindled the other, so it is very interesting that this happened before the draft. I feel like a trade like that might happen during the draft with other teams. It's very exciting to see what happens during the draft, so if you guys do end up enjoying this 2021 NFL mock draft with trades, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day talking about the NFL draft, fantasy football, as well as NFL breaking news, so let me know down below in the comments section what you guys thought about that trade as well. Are you guys feeling like one of those teams obviously won the trade, or are you more with me that it's pretty much just even right now? So we begin the draft with pick numero uno, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, earlier on in the offseason when I was doing these mock drafts, I went into full detail about how good Trevor Lawrence is, but you know that by now. He's the easy number 1 pick coming in last year. You would have thought that. Probably even the year before, people thought Trevor Lawrence would be the first overall pick after this guy skull-fucked and won his national championship in his freshman year. He is a very solid quarterback. There's no need to really talk about him too much. So Trevor Lawrence is the first pick of the 2021 NFL draft to the Jacksonville Jaguars. The interesting pick for the Jaguars is who they pick later on in the first round when it comes to their first round picks, obviously, because it's just penciled in at this point that it's Trevor Lawrence. At number 2, we basically have another penciled in pick. Now, does the fact that Justin Fields is prone to epilepsy change anything in the draft? Now, I did not know this. Maybe teams already knew this. I'm sure teams already knew this, so it probably doesn't mean anything. It's just that it came out a couple of days ago, so that's very interesting. He should be fine, though. It hasn't seemed to have affected him at all, so I hope Justin Fields is okay. Obviously, you don't want to be seeing that. So at number 2, we have the New York Football Jets, and it's pretty obvious at this point. It is etched in stone pretty much that they're going to be drafting Zach Wilson. Now, is it as much of a lock as Trevor Lawrence to the Jacksonville Jaguars? No. Vegas has Trevor Lawrence going to the Jacksonville Jaguars as a lock. He's like minus 7 zillion. Zach Wilson is still minus a zillion, but it's not as much as the Jacksonville Jaguars, or as much as Zach Wilson going to the New York Football Jets. But again, I feel like this one is just super obvious at this point. It seems like the Jets got rid of Mono Man Sam for a reason, and that is to bring in the number 2 overall pick, Zach Wilson, quarterback out of BYU. At number 3, we have the San Francisco 49ers, who were a part of that trade from a couple of weeks ago with the Dolphins and the Eagles. They moved up this far for a reason, and that reason is obviously to be selecting a quarterback, but which quarterback is it at this point? Now it's seeming a little bit like it might end up being Mac Jones again. It was like, it's going to be Mac Jones, then it's like, no, it's going to be Lance, it's going to be Fields, and now people are saying it's going to be Mac Jones again. Frankly, this is where the draft really starts. I've said that in the last couple of mock drafts. After the 49ers made their trade to move up here, they don't want anything to do with Jimmy Garoppolo. Now the question is, though, if they draft Trey Lance, who is, in my opinion, the biggest project quarterback, meaning he has a lot of raw talent, but he wasn't playing in these conferences like a guy like Justin Fields is playing in, like a guy like Trevor Lawrence is playing in. He's playing in this other college football division. So how does that end up changing things? I don't know. If they go with Trey Lance, does Jimmy Garoppolo still start this year, or is he gone? I have no idea. At this point, this pick seems like it's probably 40% Wilson. No, not Wilson. 40% Justin Fields, 40% Trey Lance, and then 20% Mac Jones, in my opinion. I don't know which one it is going to end up being on draft day, and frankly, anyone telling you that they have a 100% read on this pick, that they know for sure it's going to be one of these guys, to me, that seems a little bit ludicrous at this point. So we are going to go ahead and select who I think they will end up picking, and that is quarterback Justin Fields out of the Ohio State University. Kyle Shanahan has worked with him a ton in the past. He went to his other pro day like a week ago. It seemed like Justin Fields does look like the third best quarterback in this draft class, maybe even the second best quarterback in this draft class. Even if the Jets don't believe it, I think that the 49ers are definitely picking a quarterback here. You don't trade all of that fucking draft capital to draft Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts or something like that. While it would be fun to see Kyle Pitts and George Kittle on the same offense, we just will never see that. At number 4, we have the Atlanta Falcons. Now, this pick is either the biggest layup ever or a trade, because Kyle Pitts right here, according to the Draft Network's predictive board, he is their number 2 ranked prospect. He is the best prospect, in my opinion, that is not a quarterback in this draft. Kyle Pitts is a receiver, that is a tight end. He's an offensive weapon. He's like Taysom Hill. If Taysom Hill was actually really good at playing tight end and wide receiver, Kyle Pitts is a menace. This guy is getting compared to Calvin Johnson, aka Megatron. So if you're the Falcons here, there are one of two things you do. You either are just nutting in your pants at the fact that you can have Matt Ryan, Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, Kyle Pitts, and Hayden Hurst, or you trade the pick. I think at this point, it is pretty clear that they're not going to go quarterback. Would I be surprised if right here they said, hey, Trey Lance is here? I think that he will be good behind Matt Ryan. You let Matt Ryan play another 2 years, and then bam, on his 3rd year in the NFL, you throw Trey Lance into the lineup rock hard, and he is going to ball out? Maybe. In my opinion, what the Falcons should do here is trade back. I think that Kyle Pitts would be an excellent pick, but there are going to be teams knocking on the door to go ahead and get Kyle Pitts. Just kidding. They're going to be knocking on the door to get Trey Lance, to get maybe Mac Jones. I do think, though, teams will definitely be looking up to trade up for Trey Lance. I did, in the last mock draft, have the Cowboys trade up with the Dolphins to get the number 6 overall pick and select Kyle Pitts, but while the Cowboys posted this video basically getting down on their knees and giving Kyle Pitts the gawk 9,000, sucking him off, it appears that that's not what's going to end up happening. They're not going to move up based on what I've read. Now, again, this could all be smoke screens and some crazy shit could happen, but I don't think the Cowboys are going to move up to pick 6 anymore, but it is entirely possible that could happen. So someone's going to be calling the Falcons on the phone, and I'm going to be honest with you. I think that it is going to be the Denver Broncos. I think the Denver Broncos are going to be very sold in on Trey Lance or Justin Fields, whoever falls to number 4. I think they're done with Drew Lock, and I don't think that they want to draft Mac Jones. Now, Mac Jones will likely be there at 9, but it is also possible, the more that I've thought about it, would Sam Darnold stop the Carolina Panthers from drafting Trey Lance if he was there? Or Justin Fields at 8? I don't think so. I do not think so. So I think if the Broncos don't want Mac Jones, they 100% have to get on the fucking phone and start panic calling the Falcons. They might have to call the Lions. They might have to call the Dolphins, the Bengals, whoever, so that the Panthers don't just take Trey Lance or Justin Fields, because Darnold, they didn't really give up all that much for him. While I think it would be screwed for Sam Darnold to get traded and then never end up playing because they just have this other guy that they're throwing into the lineup. It would suck for Darnold, but at the end of the day, the NFL is about finding your franchise guy, and at 8, if Fields or Lance was there, I'm starting to believe that the Panthers could actually make that pick there and go quarterback. So the Denver Broncos are going to get on their cellular device and call up the Atlanta Falcons until they end up making this move to go ahead and get their guy at the quarterback position. So the Falcons are trading here with the Denver Broncos. Obviously, they got to give the 4th pick to the 9th pick here, and then the Falcons are going to be receiving probably other picks. Now, what exactly will it be? I have no idea. I've said this before. I don't know how much it will cost for a team to move up to the 4th spot. Now, if it's the Patriots calling from 15 to 4, you would think there's got to be a lot more picks involved to move that far. So I don't really know exactly how much it'll cost. We'll do a first, a second, and a second next year. Again, is that too little? Maybe. But we'll see on draft day, because I have a feeling the Falcons are going to be receiving a lot of calls and could end up moving off of this pick. So the Falcons make the move with the Denver Broncos here. They're sitting here, and they didn't trade up to draft Kyle Pitts. They're getting Trey Lance, quarterback out of North Dakota State. This guy in 2019 threw, I believe, 30-plus touchdowns with no interceptions, rushed for over 1,000 yards. This guy is the most interesting prospect at the quarterback position, in my opinion, in this draft, because he seems like his ceiling is directly going to the fucking moon or to Mars or something like that, because I think there could be a very big potential that Trey Lance is one of the better quarterbacks in this draft, if not the best. But I could also see a scenario where he completely sucks because he's coming from North Dakota State. So if you guys have enjoyed this video thus far, we've been talking for a little bit. We're about 10 minutes in. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. At 5, we have the Bengals. Now, there's also potential that teams are calling to get Mac Jones, but I don't think we see a run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks in a row in the first round. Could happen, but personally, I don't think so. The Bengals are here, and the more I have thought about it, my brain is kind of shape-shifting. I think that the Bengals here should draft Penei Sewell, offensive tackle out of Oregon. Do they necessarily need an O-tackle, though? No, but they need to protect Joe Burrow. Maybe you move other guys around so that Penei Sewell can protect Joe Burrow. So, what do they do here? I think the smart move is to draft the offensive tackle, but the more I have thought about it, I genuinely believe that the Bengals might just fuck around and draft Ja'Marr Chase or Kyle Pitts here. So again, I think they should end up taking the tackle here, but for the sake of this mock draft, since I haven't done it yet this whole offseason, we're going to go ahead and say that the Bengals say, F you, Penei Sewell. We are going to draft Ja'Marr Chase, Joe Burrow's boy, at pick number 5. At number 6, the Miami Dolphins are up on the board here, and they're not going to end up getting Ja'Marr Chase like I personally want, but Kyle Pitts is still there. But Nick, they have Mike Gesicki. Throw that knowledge out the window that they have Mike Gesicki. Who gives a flying fuck? You put Kyle Pitts out there to play anywhere in this offense. This guy is going to be dominant. Or you just run 2 tight end sets and absolutely skull fuck the defense. As a Dolphins fan, I genuinely hope that we do end up getting Kyle Pitts here at pick number 6. It would make me very happy. At number 7, we have the Detroit Lions. Now, the Lions didn't end up drafting a cornerback in the last draft, but that didn't look too great. And they also don't have very many good cornerbacks, so it does make sense that that is their second highest need. I think that if Ja'Marr Chase was still on the board, they would run directly to the board and slap him on there as pick number 7. But I think with Penei Sewell here, falling value to pick number 7, I think it is about as layup as it gets for them to go ahead and protect Jared Goff or whoever they end up drafting in the future, because I doubt Jared Goff is the long-term option in Detroit. At number 8, we have the Carolina Panthers here, and they were obviously hoping that Penei Sewell would end up falling to them. Again, if I pronounce this guy's name wrong, I apologize. I'm just an asshole. So at number 8, the I've done this before. The Carolina Panthers are up on the board, and they're a little bit mad there that Sewell went ahead of them, but they could just end up here playing it safe and drafting Rashawn Slater, offensive tackle out of Northwestern. People are saying that Slater might even be better than Sewell, so don't feel like it's a real reach if he goes inside of the top 8. It should not be surprising at all. Now the Falcons are up on the board after trading their number 4 pick to the Denver Broncos for them to get Lance. Now the Falcons are here. They're not going to end up getting their guy in Kyle Pitts, but the cornerbacks are still available on the board, and the Falcons' defense needs some corners. The defense last year looked absolutely atrocious, and it really hasn't looked all that great, at least from my recollection, since they were in the Super Bowl up against the Patriots. That defense was fierce, even though it kind of choked at the end of the game, but that's more on Shanahan's play calling, in my opinion, over the defense. So the Falcons need some defense, and I think if Patrick Surtain, the best defensive player via PFF last season, is still available, they would just have to run to the board screaming and end up picking him. Could they pick a wide receiver? Probably not, in my opinion. I think they're happy with Julio and Calvin Ridley. I think Julio still has a couple years left in the tank. I don't think this is his final hoorah. He's probably got another 2 years at least, in my opinion, unless he just pulls a Calvin Johnson. I know Johnson retired earlier, but just is tired of being on the Falcons, a team that is just such a sorry franchise at this point. But we're going to go ahead and select Patrick Surtain, corner out of Alabama. At number 10, we got the Dallas Cowboys, and I know the Cowboys are probably big pissed right now. Some Cowboys fans, there's probably two waves of thought as a Cowboys fan if they stay at pick 10. Now, there is some thoughts that, again, they will trade up and go ahead and get Kyle Pitts, but personally, again, I don't really see that. But the two waves of thought are, you hope Slater is there, you take tackle, or you hope Surtain is there and you take corner. But now both of those are out of the picture in this mock because Slater, Sewell have been already picked, the two offensive tackles, and Surtain is gone. But, Caleb Farley was really the 1B coming in to a couple of weeks ago before he ended up getting back surgery. So do they end up taking him? Or they sold in on J.C. Horn, who's really skyrocketing up the draft board. I think they do need a cornerback. I think this defense is really down tremendous. And with Dak back, hopefully healthy in 2021, this team could easily win 10 games. And how do you win 10 games? With a good offense. But they're not going to be able to win all those shootouts. So you need some corners, you need some players on defense, and I think J.C. Horn would be very happy to join the Dallas Cowboys. At number 11, we have the New York Football Giants at pick number 11. Now, here is where I genuinely believe teams start calling to get quarterback Mac Jones if they want to pass up the Patriots. I do not think that the Patriots necessarily have to trade up to get Mac Jones because they're sitting there pretty at 15. It does not seem like Mac Jones is going to end up being a top 10 pick unless obviously he goes to the 49ers. So will someone call to get the Giants pick to move past the Patriots? Maybe. What teams will that be? There's only a couple of teams who need a quarterback. That's the Patriots. That's the Washington football team. That's the Bears. I don't think the Steelers would trade up to do it, but the Steelers do kind of need a quarterback because I don't think Dwayne Haskins is going to end up panning out, and they only have Big Ben besides that, and he's getting old. No other teams really need one. I mean, technically, the Saints need a quarterback, but they have famous LASIK Jameis Winston, so I think that the Giants end up making this pick, but again, teams are going to be calling these guys to move past the Patriots if they want Mac Jones. So here at 11, I think this is basically a no-brainer to go ahead and select Jaylen Waddle, wide receiver out of Alabama. I think that had they not have brought in Kenny Golladay, the pick would have been devonta Smith to be the alpha wide receiver in New York. And I think that this means that maybe we see the Giants trade a guy like Sterling Shepard or like Darius Slayton. I think that Darius Slayton has shown enough in his NFL career that he is worth trading for another team. The guy is pretty fast, but I do think Jaylen Waddle's overall a much better player than Shepard and then Darius Slayton, so I think it would make all too much sense for them to end up drafting him here at number 11. At number 12, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, and at this point, I have kind of just stapled into my brain that if the Eagles are here and Jaylen Waddle or devonta Smith are available, they're going to end up picking them. They swung and they missed on Jalen Reagor last year. They missed on J.J. Arcega-Whiteside a couple years ago. Now, is the book completely out, or is the jury completely sold out on Jalen Reagor? I would say no. But when you have devonta Smith, the Slim Reaper, the Heisman winner. Now, you don't just draft the guy because he won the fucking Heisman, but, that's obviously a big accolade in college football. devonta Smith, to me, would be a pretty solid pick for the Eagles to get Jalen Hurts some more weapons. At number 13, we have the Los Angeles Chargers, and I think that also if Waddle or Smith were here, I would not be surprised, especially Waddle, if he was here, that the Chargers ended up picking him. Why is that? Because the Chargers are the kind of a team that kind of needs a clear number 2. I don't think Mike Williams will ever be that guy. Why? Because he shows so many flashes of greatness in these games, but then he'll have like a great game, then the next game the guy's not able to catch anything, then the next game he's mossing corners, DBs, making them look like fools, and then the next game he sucks again. So, and he's also been getting injured a decent amount. So it's not that I don't like Mike Williams, it's that I think that you want a healthy guy. Maybe you just draft Jaylen Waddle, even though he got hurt last year. So at number 13, the Chargers don't get that luxury, and they are sitting here, and while I want them to draft an offensive tackle, and it is probably the safer pick here to just go ahead and draft Christian Darrisaw out of Virginia Tech, it seems like while he's not a number 1 or number 2 tackle in the draft, he is pretty much unanimously the number 3 guy overall at the offensive tackle position. I think that when you draft a quarterback named Justin Herbert last year, you swing and you hit that motherfucker out of the park into that into the scoreboard type of deal where it smacks off like you're playing the bigs. I don't know if you guys ever played that. Maybe that's what the game was called. I used to play it on the Wii when you'd hit the ball and it hit the scoreboard in baseball and sparks would fly. That's what they did with Justin Herbert. Now they're here. They could easily protect him with an offensive tackle, or they could get a little spicy and draft an edge rusher to build more up on what should be a strong defense if able to stay healthy. I think they end up electing to draft an edge rusher, and I think the first edge rusher drafted off the board, while Phillips is ranked higher based off of the draft network, I think it's going to end up being Kwitty. Yeah, we paid. Edge rusher out of Minnesota, out of Michigan. It's all about the University of Michigan. At number 14, we see the Minnesota Vikings here, and that's why I think I said Minnesota, because they were the next overall pick in the draft. So, last year, the Vikings drafted Jeff Gladney. Jeff Gladney appears to be in trouble for doing something bad. Something very bad. Did he do it or not? I don't know, because I don't think that the court proceedings have happened yet. If they have and he has done it, obviously, he's an asshole. That should be obvious. So, are they looking to draft another cornerback here because Gladney may potentially be out of the league? Maybe. But right now, based on what I know about the situation, he's still on the team. He has not been cut yet. So I don't think that that's necessarily the biggest issue with the Vikings. They have a pretty young defense, and I think if Gladney didn't do it, he ends up being fine. He's on the team next year. They'll be fine with him. So I'm not necessarily sold in that they would end up drafting Caleb Farley here. And I think the safest pick by far is drafting Elijah Vera Tucker here. Tucker, I barely knew her. So, yeah, I think that's probably the safest pick. Do I think that it's a reach? No. I read comments last time as Vikings fans feel that it's a reach. I don't really. I mean, you protect Kirk Cousins. You like that. So I think that's pretty much the pick here at this point based on how I feel that the Vikings are going to end up doing this. At number 15, we have the New England Patriots, and no one came a-calling to select quarterback Mac Jones, so he falls there. I know that a lot of Patriots fans aren't necessarily sold in on Mac Jones. Maybe they'd rather trade for Jimmy G since they think Jimmy G is better than him, which is probably true at this point of his career, but 5 years from now, I think Mac Jones is less like Jimmy Garoppolo and more like Kirk Cousins, who has the potential to be like a top 12 guy, will probably never be a top 5 guy in the NFL. Does that mean that you miss on the pick, though? No. As long as he's pretty solid, the Patriots should be pretty happy. So I think they end up drafting quarterback Mac Jones out of Alabama at number 15. At number 16, we have the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I think that the Cardinals were wishing potentially that a wide receiver fell their way because of Waddle was here. I think that he would be a slam dunk pick as well because they really don't have a true number 2 on that team. Christian Kirk, not necessarily a miss of a pick for the team, but never really became the guy that people wanted him to be. Larry Fitzgerald is obviously on his last legs. This guy is so fucking old at this point and not super involved in the offense. Obviously, he's still a solid player. He's not terrible. They brought in AJ Green, but again, that guy is also over the hump when it comes to really being able to be the AJ Green of the past. So now we have the Arizona Cardinals here. I don't think, obviously, they're going to end up drafting a wide receiver here. I think they are going to be very happy getting Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech. Sure, he ended up having the back surgery, but he should be fine. Micah Parsons is also possible at this pick, but I think it is going to end up being Caleb Farley, corner out of Virginia Tech. At number 17, we have the Las Vegas Raiders, and they did kind of piece back their offensive line decently after getting rid of all of them and bringing in Kenyon Drake, but I'm not sure that would stop them from drafting Christian Darrisaw, but John Gruden is a weird motherfucker, and I don't even think he would end up actually doing this, but this is the smartest pick here. I think Micah Parsons falling all the way to 17, he should be salivating and pick him, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he picked Christian Barmore, because that's just a big motherfucker that John Gruden will probably end up liking. So we're going to go Micah Parsons, linebacker out of the Penn State University. Out of number 18, not Penn State University, the Nittany Lions. At number 18, we have wide receiver. Not wide receiver, the Miami Dolphins sitting here at this pick. And the Dolphins ended up getting Mr. Kyle Pitts in the first round. So does that mean they're going to end up drafting a wide receiver here because they got Kyle Pitts? I'm not too sure. I think if they ended up drafting Pitts with their first pick, they wouldn't go wide receiver here, and they'd rather just wait into the second, the third round, and take some shots later at the wide receiver position that could end up panning out over drafting a guy here that may be a reach at 18 in Rashod Bateman, wide receiver out of Minnesota. So if I'm the Dolphins, I would end up probably just drafting a linebacker here. I think the Dolphins really like Micah Parsons, but he's gone, but I think they should be very happy drafting Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, linebacker out of Notre Dame. Now, what I know about Brian Flores and Chris Greer, it seems like they like drafting defense. So that's why I kind of feel like they would end up going linebacker. I understand Zaven Collins is ranked higher on here, but in my opinion, the human hit stick, as I have called him, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, JOK, the Joker, is the pick here at number 18. At number 19, we have the Washington football team. Again, they don't end up drafting a quarterback because they couldn't move up. There's no way, in my opinion, any other quarterback goes in the first round. There's going to be 5, which seems pretty high. Mac Jones, obviously, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Trevor Lawrence are going to go in the first round, but I highly doubt a guy like Kellen Mond or Davis Mills, Cal Trask, Jamie Newman, Brady White, Sam Ehlinger, any of those guys go in the first round. Again, it is possible, but I fucking doubt it, if I'm being honest with you. So at this pick, it is probably going to end up being an offensive tackle or a defensive player. That defense was feisty last season after that addition of Chase Young at the number 2 overall pick. Chase Young has obviously panned out. He was a blue chip prospect. He was a no-brainer pick last year. And I think here, if Parsons or JOK was available, that would also be their mindset. Hey, let's go ahead and attack the defense. But I think here at this position, going offensive tackle is their best bet, since I'm not out on Zaven Collins. I like Zaven Collins, but I just don't think when you see JOK go and then Micah Parsons that Zaven Collins is necessarily up there with them. Maybe in your opinion he is, but to me, I think tackle is the best spot here for the Washington football team. Again, guys, we are pretty deep in this video. If you have ended up enjoying thus far, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. At number 20, we have the Chi-Town Bears. The Bears also a team who wanted a quarterback, don't end up getting one. They're stuck with Andy Dalton. Now, if I'm being honest with you guys, does anyone else not understand why they didn't just keep Mitch for another year? Now, I'm not saying Mitch is fucking amazing, right? He hasn't really shown that, but he also has shown, in my opinion, that he's better than Andy Dalton, who's going to be their starting quarterback if they don't end up trading up for a guy like Mac Jones. Maybe they trade up and get Justin Fields or something. So, at number 20, the Bears are here. And I think they end up going with a wide receiver. I like Darnell Mooney. I like Anthony Miller. Allen Robinson just signs the franchise tag, so he's only there for 1 year. As of right now, I think that wide receiver will end up being the pick here, as again, it seems like they want to trade Anthony Miller. I've talked about this before for a second-round pick, so it would make sense that if they're looking to trade him, they would look to draft a replacement for him here at number 20. Personally, I am of the standpoint that Rashod Bateman is a pretty solid number 2 wide receiver for the Bears. Maybe he could become the number 1 guy there if Allen Robinson is to leave. Now, Rashod Bateman is 6'1". He's not some short king, not super tall at 6'1", but again, you don't necessarily need to be 6'7" or 7'2" like fucking Shaquille O'Neal to play wide receiver in the NFL. So I think that Rashod Bateman out of Minnesota, it is cold like Minnesota, will be picked there to the Chi-Town Bears. At number 21, we have the Indianapolis Colts here. And I think that the Colts would also potentially look to go wide receiver. T.Y. Hilton, he's on the way out. Let's be honest with you. To me, I don't even know why they brought him back. He's not good. Not good anymore. Not terrible, but he's not T.Y. Hilton of 2016, 2015. Now, maybe one of those years was when he was hurt, but you know what I'm saying. Like, back then, he was one of the premier wide receivers, at least in my opinion, in the NFL. So we're sitting here at this pick. The corners are kind of gone. The tackles are not gone, though. One of their premier guys at the offensive line position ended up just fucking retiring. His name, I think, his name is escaping me. Starts with a C. He retired, which sucks, obviously. But again, you got to respect when a guy he plays in the NFL for a couple years. He's one of the premier guys. He retires when he's on the up and up. He's like, you know what? I want to be with my family, all that stuff. So huge round of applause to the guy whose name I'm forgetting. I do apologize, any Colts fans who are just screaming in the comment section like, Nick, you fucking dumbass. How do you forget this guy's name? But Tevin Leeroy Jenkins is still available out of Oklahoma State. And this guy literally looks like he would just hug you to death if you've seen the picture of him with his fucking specs on. He wears these like glasses that look just hilarious on the guy, but that makes him even scarier, a guy wearing glasses playing football. He's like Rodrigo Blankenship type of deal here at number 21 out of Oklahoma State. And number 22, we have the Tennessee Titans, the Les Titans. And I think that the Titans here want to go ahead and draft another wide receiver. Is it a reach? Probably a reach, but I do think they end up taking one at this pick. I think we might end up seeing an Ole Miss offense in the 1-2 punch there with Elijah Moore and A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown, notoriously the guy who got cucked by DK Metcalf in that picture. Everyone's seen the picture of DK Metcalf with his shirt off, and the caption's like, if this dude slaps your girl's ass, what do you do? And you tell him thank you. A.J. Brown's in that picture. Just as huge, but not as huge as DK Metcalf, because that guy's just a behemoth of a man. So yeah, at 22, I think we end up potentially seeing an Ole Miss offense in Tennessee, but it could be really any of these guys in Elijah Moore, Kadarius Toney, or Terrance Marshall at this pick at 22. At number 23, we have the New York Football Jets. While the Jets don't necessarily have great weapons, they draft Denzel Mims, gets hurt early on last year. I believe in the offseason, didn't even start very many games last year. He has the potential to be pretty good. They drafted him in the second round last year. They have Jameson Crowder still. So their wide receiver core isn't terrible, not amazing, but not awful. So I don't think they would end up picking a wide receiver here. I think it is entirely possible that they are the first team to take a running back in the draft. Now, off the top of my head, early on in mock draft season, when I was doing mock drafts maybe 2 months ago, I was talking about how I genuinely believed that a team was going to draft one in the first round, but now I'm more on maybe it's like a 25% chance only that one ends up taking him. The teams that would take a running back are potentially my Dolphins at 18. Originally, the Cardinals were one, but they ended up bringing in James Conner, so I don't think they necessarily would draft one. So it's the Jets, it is the Steelers, because I don't think they roll with the wide receiver or the running back core they have there right now after losing James Conner. They got Booger McFarland's son. They got Benny Snell, who are not two running back ones in the NFL, in my opinion. Another team that could take one is the Bills. I don't think they would, but again, it's possible, and that's about it in the first round of teams that could end up drafting a running back. So with the Jets having an early pick in the second round, I think they would rather, unless they're like, holy shit, Najee Harris is the running back one clearly, or Etienne is clearly the guy, or Javonte Williams is clearly the guy, why not just wait till the next round when you can easily get one with one of the earlier picks in the second round? Unless, of course, like I said, they genuinely believe one of these guys is the clear running back one prospect in this draft. So at 23, the Jets, I don't think end up going running back. And I genuinely think that they end up drafting an edge rusher at this pick. Jalen Phillips or Azeez Ojulari have fallen kind of far, in my opinion, at least in Jalen Phillips, based on what I've seen in other mocks. So we're going to go with Phillips here, edge rusher out of the Miami. At number 24, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers. They end up bringing back Juju, so they're definitely not looking to go wide receiver. They have a very good wide receiver core, Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, if he can, use his fucking hands to catch the ball. They have Juju, Corvette, Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson. They have Big Ben back, which isn't the greatest, but again, it is what it is. So they're going to end up probably looking to draft. Actually, to be honest, I'm not sold in on one position that they necessarily draft here. I think that if Elijah Vera Tucker, I barely knew her, was available at this pick, it would really be a no-brainer for them, but he's not. Corner could be a pick here, so could O-tackle. I think that Alex Leatherwood is going to scream up the draft board, but I do think personally that Samuel Cosmi will end up being a first-round pick, and he goes here to the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 25. We see the Jacksonville Jaguars after getting their guy in Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, everyone's first-ranked quarterback. I have seen so many lists of quarterbacks. I don't think I've ever seen one where someone ranked Trevor Lawrence. Now, for fantasy, it's different. But for NFL prospects, people rank for the future the best prospect in this draft as Trevor Lawrence at the quarterback position. I have not seen anything with Fields, Lance, Wilson, Mac Jones, any of that as the number one guy. If you guys have seen that, let me know down below because I'd like to read that. So when you draft a quarterback, you typically want to protect him, and the Jags don't have the greatest line. They don't. I think wide receiver as their third team need is ludicrous, to be honest. I think Chark is good. I think Shenault is good. And it seems like Shenault was used correctly last year with Doug Marrone, so hopefully Urban Meyer can use him correctly. They bring in Marvin Jones, so I think they're pretty capable of having a solid wide receiver core without drafting one, definitely in the first round. So offensive tackle is definitely a need for me, and I think that Alex Leatherwood is probably the edge of where we see O-tackles go in the first round. I think Leatherwood is probably a lock here. Now, Eichenberg, I apologize if I pronounced his name wrong, seems like he also could be a first-round pick, but after that, it's definitely seeming like there's no way that Dylan Raduns, I apologize since I said his name wrong, the guy who was protecting your boy Trey Lance, or Jaylen Mayfield, and one of those guys end up being a first-round pick. Shout out to Jaylen Mayfield for being number 69. Very nice. I like on TDN's ranking. So at 26, we have the Browns. The Browns end up bringing in Jadeveon Clowney. I've said this before. Clowney is on a one-year deal. This guy's been getting passed around like the school thotty back in the day. So I don't know why that would deter them from drafting someone that could play one of his positions. Now, he plays a lot of positions on defense, so they can move him around. I think he's more of like a one-year kind of guy on the Browns. Maybe they bring him back on a multiple year deal. Sorry for stuttering there a little bit and not being able to pronounce year. Because I graduated elementary school, I should be able to. But at 26, they could go anywhere on defense. I think they want to go ahead and get defense, and I think they are going to be very happy here with Christian Barmore, interior defensive lineman out of Alabama, who was all over the ass of Justin Fields during the national championship this year. 27, we have the Baltimore Ravens. They just lost their offensive tackle, Orlando Brown. But does that mean they have to necessarily draft one in the first round? No. I think that if Cosmi was available or Leatherwood, they might look that way. But with how I feel about, the guys past that, I don't think they're first-round talent. So I think they end up getting a guy who definitely is a first-round talent in edge rusher, Azeez Ojulari. At number 28, we have the New Orleans Saints, and Greg Newsome fell pretty far compared to where I feel like he may end up getting drafted as the fourth-best corner in this draft out of Northwestern. Newsome goes to the New Orleans Saints, even though I'd love to see the Saints draft a wide receiver because they just lost Emmanuel Sanders. They really just have Traequan Smith and Michael Thomas, and Traequan Smith has been one of those guys that, to be honest with you, if you guys go back and watch videos on my channel about fantasy football, I've talked up Traequan Smith multiple times because Sean Payton has talked him up multiple times, and he has never done it and been great for a long stretch of times. Now, he's had games where he was good and shown a lot of promise. He's had multiple week stretches. Maybe it was 2019 when he did that, or 2018 when he was really good, but then he kind of never has sustained it for a long period of time. So I think receiver is definitely in the book there, but I don't think so if Newsome is there. At 29, we have the Green Bay Packers. Now, Packers fans, they obviously want a wide receiver to go opposed to with Davante Adams. They don't really have a clear number two. They have a couple of guys like Alan Lazard, MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who's pretty good, but they don't really have the clear two because none of those guys ever became that. So they could go receiver, but again, I'm not too sure that the Packers will do that because last year they wanted receiver. They went with Jordan Love. So, gotta love that. So there's no real tackles here. I think they end up going corner, and I genuinely believe at this point that Eric Stokes is not going to be the, fifth corner off the board after Newsome. I really think that Asante Samuel Jr. is going to be. They've been sucking this guy off. They've been moving him up the ranks. It appears a lot of people are really talking about him. in the draft community on Twitter. I think that, again, the draft community on Twitter, like, those are some fucking geniuses, right? But I'm more talking about the higher-up guys, you know, the guys that are, you know, get paid to fucking talk about the draft. So those kind of guys are talking up Asante Samuel. At number 30, we got the Buffalo Bills. I just realized I may have gotten a little more quiet because I think I backed up a little too far from the mic, so I apologize if I got a little bit quiet at the end of this and you had to, you know, crank the volume up. So at number 30, we got the no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, and I think here is where we see edge rusher. See, I don't think Joe Tryon is going to be a first-round pick. I don't think so. But the corners are not the greatest. I don't think they go wide receiver. I think they're happy with Beasley, with Diggs, with Gabriel Davis, and what he has shown. I think Gabriel Davis is fucking legit, so I don't know why they would draft a first-round wide receiver. So I think that they end up going corner here because I don't think Tryon is going to end up being... I fucking can't pronounce the name for some reason. In the first round, I think Jason Away could, but I think they end up just going with corner here and drafting Eric Stokes, even though I kind of just talked him down a little bit with Asante Samuel. We see a three-way of corners going in the first round. Now we're at 31 with the Ravens, who obviously got that Chiefs pick when they were moving around there. They don't end up drafting offensive tackle with their first pick, and they instead went with Azeez Ojulari at pick number 27. But now they're back up at 31, and they're looking to get pretty much, I would think, a receiver. I genuinely do. I think that they want to go ahead and move up and get a wide receiver. They traded away, I believe, their second-round pick. See, I'm an asshole here, not necessarily remembering exactly what was in the trade, so I'm going to pull it up here real quick. Again, I apologize. I already read it off, but I completely forgot. Yeah, they did end up trading their number 58 overall pick, so that's a couple of picks from now in the second round. So they definitely would have to strike here if they were sold in on one of these wide receivers, and I think they could be. And we're going to go with Terrance Marshall, who to me looks like a wide receiver one potentially in the NFL out of LSU. And the final pick, last but not least, of the first round is the Buffalo Bills, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tampa Bay Tom Brady, and they will end up drafting what I believe is a defensive piece that they think is the best, whether that is literally interior defensive line, edge rusher, they could go linebacker, they could really go any way. I think that they're going to lose multiple pieces after this season because they weren't able to bring them back on long-term deals. So the real question is, who is it at this pick? I think that they don't necessarily need linebacker, but I don't feel like Zaven Collins is going to fall out of the first round. But in this mock, he's gonna, and they end up going with Jason Away, edge rusher out of Penn State at pick number 32. So thank you guys all so much for watching this video. I recorded this for 50 minutes. The video you're going to be watching is not going to be 50 minutes because I stopped to take a sip of my agua during the video, or if I get a text, I just answer that, and then you guys don't even see that. I edit it out so that your guys' video is probably maybe 40 minutes long, maybe 45, depending on how much I was breaking during this. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you hated this mock draft, it's okay, because, you know, it's hard to predict exactly what's going to happen in the first round, and you will be seeing, let's see, draft day is the 29th, the first round, so we're on the 24th right now, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, we're 5 days away. 5 days away from the NFL draft. So we'll probably see at least one more mock draft, maybe even two, before the 2021 NFL draft officially happens on the 29th. I'm so excited, and I hope you guys are as well. I love you guys all. Thank you guys for the support recently. Have a great rest of your guys' day. Make sure you guys stay safe. Happy Saturday. Looking for a good Sunday tomorrow. As always, good boy.